Okay, today when you take your pumpkin out of the bag, the first thing you're going to do is check to see how dry everything is. I already took the plastic off of the bottom of my lid because it's almost leather hard now, and it doesn't stick anymore when I put the lid on and off. That way I can really work on making this lid match the base perfectly. Be careful not to press too hard, because if your base is already leather hard too, you can actually crack the whole entire pumpkin in half by moving it too much. Now, if you look right here, you can see how my base is sticking out a little too far right there. It doesn't match my lid. So what I'm gonna do is just gently press it in like that to make sure that it matches. And you want to do that all the way around. And you may have to do this several times today, because as you're carving out your face, you can see mine, I already started it, but as you're carving out your face, you might actually move this a little bit more, and you may have to refix it again and again and again. But just be careful that you're gently pressing on this, because if you squish it in too hard, if you really make this clay go in and out really far, then the whole thing could come apart. In fact, if you carve your features too close together, this whole part of the face could actually break apart. I've already had 3 people today whose faces, I have one girl who has like literally, no, it's just like a giant hole right there where her face was, because she wasn't very careful when she was carving, and her facial features were too close together. Remember that a major part of your grade is how even the thickness is and how smooth it is. So you need to spend a lot of time smoothing this out. I would say after you carve your face, you're going to have to do even more smoothing, because the back side of the places where you carve your holes, so you can see right there where the back side of the nose is, it's kind of rough all the way around there still. I haven't smoothed that out yet, and that still needs to be done. But before you even get to the part where you're carving your face, you need to have your lid on, and you need to set your pumpkin on the table to see how low your face can go. Some of my students were carving their mouths way too far down. They would lift up their pumpkin like this, and they would think, oh, I can carve my mouth right here. But if you carve it way that low, then when you set it down on the table, you won't really see it. So make sure that you know where it is. I also would suggest possibly not even doing a nose, because this little area right here between your features is so delicate, and when like when I carve out this mouth, the only thing that's going to hold this face together is this tiny little space right here between the nose and the mouth, and that could definitely be dangerous. I could definitely break my face if I'm not careful right there. So maybe consider what it would look like without a nose. Like if there wasn't a nose there, if it was just the eyes and the mouth, like maybe that would look good enough, and maybe you don't even need a nose, right? I would say for your lid, especially if your lid is kind of on the dry side today, maybe wrap it up in your plastic while you're working so that it doesn't dry out too much. Because if your lid goes to leather hard and your base is not that dry yet, it's going to be an issue, because they won't match, and that could not be good. We want them to stay matching, so keep it wrapped up so it stays moist. Okay, then you're going to take your tool and use the pointy part of the curved tool to draw your face on there. Draw it on however you think you might want it to be, and then you can start carving kind of like a real pumpkin. You just put the pointy part of the blade into your clay. You can even like look at it from the back side to make sure that it's going the way you want it to, right? So you poke it through like so, and you can see how it's coming through on the back side. Try to keep your tool at a kind of a 90-degree angle to the front of your face so that it will cut straight through. Once you get the clay cut, then you can dig it out with this scoopy part of the tool, or you can push it through. There's lots of ways to get it out of there, but get out the extra clay. and then smooth, 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 smooth. Biggest part of your grade is how smooth you can get this. So you want to take the time to get all the clay out of there, and then you can maybe smooth the front first, because that's going to be the most obvious part that needs to be smoothed. Enhance the shape of your features by making the corners obvious, and anything that's supposed to be a straight line, you know, try to straighten it out. Use your fingers to get all the little extra clay balls off of there, because there's these little bumpy things that happen. And you can get rid of some of your extra lines that way too. You can see how I use the side of this curvy tool to scrape, and it smooths and scrapes at the same time. You can even scoop clay out from the corner of the eye right there to make that point look more pointy. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks much better. And smooth the top of that. Get rid of all that as much as you can. And then you can use the wooden tools. They're really good for smoothing too, especially when you're trying to smooth some things that are inside there that are hard to reach. Just kind of take the wooden tool and slide it back and forth to get it to smooth out. And then fix all the little clay bumps that happen after you do that. Now let's look at the inside, because that's probably much worse looking. Oh, look at that. Do you see all that clay nastiness in there? Yeah, we want to get rid of that. So take your tool and kind of smooth it like that. And then maybe poke it through from the front while you can look at it from the back to see how it's going. And keep working on that until it looks perfect. So it should look smooth on the inside and on the outside. His nose needs some more work on smoothing for sure. So I'm using this tool right here has a flat side and it has a rounded side. So I'm using the flat side to make this part of the triangle flatter, because it looks a little too curvy. But I gotta be careful, because if I stick it in too far, it's gonna curve it too. So I'm gonna do that first to smooth it, and then I'm gonna use this tool to make that corner a little more crisp. Kind of draw a line in there. Oops, don't do that. But I do want that corner to look like a nice corner. So that still looks a little bit round right there. See if we can smush that back up. Get rid of that little clay bump right there. Can I keep it straight and get rid of the clay bump? That's the question. I keep messing it up. My clay is very moist still, so if your clay is drier, it'll be easier to do this. So that's as far as I got, but you get the idea. Keep checking your lid to make sure that your lid still fits. Don't push on this front part of your face after you get your features cut out, especially after you get your features cut out, because that's when the face can really break into pieces. So smoothness, even thickness. Make sure you dig out all the extra clay that's inside there so it's nice and thin all the way around, and make sure that your lid still matches, okay? Today, when you wrap up your work, you still want to keep the little tie around your stem like that, but you're going to put your pumpkin inside your bag like that, and you're going to leave it pretty much open, but make sure your name is showing, okay? So make sure your name is showing, and then just leave it open like that so it can start to dry.